Hello, everybody. William Yardley here. I'm in my Best Western hotel room. Um, Recently, I posted quite a few posts about how the theory of evolution is an atheist lie on Facebook, and I posted one here that got quite a few responses. I don't uh, I don't normally get like 80 responses like this one gets, so I thought I'd take a look at it with you guys real quick. Um, let's see here. Oh, here it is. The theory of evolution is an atheist lie. The Cambrian explosion refutes evolution. And then I have a link to Jonathan Wells' Icons of Evolution video on YouTube, where he explains how the Cambrian explosion brought about all the major phyla into existence, like out of nowhere. You know, for the first 3 billion years or whatever, there was only single-celled organisms and little organisms that cannot be construed as precursors to the major phyla that we see suddenly appear in the Cambrian explosion. But the reason I think this is important is because, for 150 years now, well, actually for let's say the last 60 years or whatever, biologists, so-called evolutionists, have been saying that evolution is a proven fact, like gravity or something. That's simply not true. Mostly it's made up of anecdotes that don't even begin to prove, though. And I'm talking about macro Darwinian evolution, okay? Microevolution, where we see peppered moss change color. Even that theory, believe it or not, is wrong. But they did microevolve for some reason, and all kinds of organisms, viruses and bacteria, or not bacteria, but viruses will microevolve. I guess bacteria do too. So they can beat the any vaccines or whatever you call them. But here's some responses I get. This guy here, Kevin Francis, gave me a little link here, trying to say that humans and chimps share 98% of the same DNA. Yeah, that's we have this basically the same DNA as bananas too. So that doesn't mean anything. There's also evolutionists who will say that there was some kind of a DNA fusion between chimps and humans, and that's a complicated matter. But it's basically it's all bogus. Oh shoot! I lost my my responses. Oh, okay. I see what I did. Let's see here. Oh, this guy says, Kevin Francis says, William Yardley, you could be outsmarted by a fruit fly with brain damage. Okay, that doesn't really dispute my assertion that evolution is an atheist lie. I'm pretty sure I could outsmart a fruit fly on an IQ test. Rick Wallum says, William Yardley, you have no idea what you're talking about. Well, apparently this guy, well, he doesn't mention the Cambrian explosion. And by the way, uh, Jonathan Wells, who has like a couple master's degrees from Berkeley, one of them in, I think, microbiology or something. Anyway, he wrote a book called The Icons of Evolution, and he goes through point by point on these university textbooks on evolution. Not only do they distort what we know about evolution, or the lack thereof. I mean, there's a lot of outright lies in even university textbooks on evolution, and you can look that up. Icons of Evolution by Jonathan Wells on YouTube. He has several YouTube videos posted, and he goes through all the various points of how the university textbooks are. I mean, they're really just horrible. And by the way, the Cambrian explosion is the most important event in the history of life, even for so-called scientists, evolutionists. And yet the university textbooks on evolution, they basically barely even mention the Cambrian explosion, if they mention it at all, which is pretty damning evidence that, I mean, the reason they don't mention it is because it refutes the theory of evolution, okay? And all these people that are making comments, or the ones that are negative, they don't even address what I'm talking about here. That's because, people have been fed the lie that evolution is a proven fact, okay, for 60, 70 years now. And the reason I think it's politically important, it is politically important because, when the powers that be can get people to believe that evolution is a fact, and they see all these homeless people and people living in poverty, and they say, well, that's terrible, but only the strong survive. So so most people are totally apathetic to homelessness and poverty. This guy says, oh, by the way, I like to say that, evolution, the Big Bang, and abiogenesis are atheist lies. Therefore, God exists. I'm talking about Creator God, not Bible God. So I mean, how did the universe come into being? The Big Bang theorists, cosmologists, they openly admit that they can't even begin to explain how the universe came into being. They'll just say, well, the Big Bang theory deals with after the Big Bang. We don't know how, what caused the Big Bang. There's no way we can know. Well, there's only one possibility, and that is that God created the universe. If you don't believe in God, and you need to explain how the universe came into being if God didn't create the universe, okay? And most of these people, they're not up to the task. Most people, ultimately they're so busy, trying to make ends meet that they don't even care, which is kind of unfortunate, or very unfortunate, I should say. Because I think that, people get a negative mindset because they don't realize that, first of all, I believe we're all going to heaven, okay? I think hell is an inane concept, an insane concept. A loving God's not going to send people to hell forever, through the lake of fire. Give me a break. Anyway, this guy here, Tense Wolf, says, William Yardley, bye, troll, you're really stupid. Michael Berry says, whatever, weirdo. These guys don't even try to present their side of the argument. A lot of people just, anybody that comes along and says that evolution, there's no evidence for evolution, and I'm talking about macro-Darwinian evolution. Yeah, they're in total denial, and they'll just call you stupid or whatever. Aaron Newton says, "Is this the part where you tell us that social distancing will push people off the edge of the flat Earth?" Yeah, a lot of people will mention, "Oh, you're a flat earther. You think the Earth is flat if you don't believe in evolution." Anyway, I just wanted to. Oh, here's another good one. Martin Holland says, "Fucking sick of armchair know-it-alls. Are you a scientist?" No, I haven't been brainwashed by the atheistic universities. He says, "Have you invested most of your life in the study of earth science, biology, the study of carbon data, fossils?" Actually, I've spent thousands of hours studying all three of the so-called scientific theories of evolution, Big Bang, and abiogenesis. By the way, is another good one, where they try to say that magic molecules, in the beginning of life, or the origin of life, molecules magically assembled themselves into a living cell, which is impossible. Okay, there's something that the philosophers will call, some of the philosophers will call the scientifically oriented philosophers will talk about the spark of life. Okay, you can't get molecules to magically assemble themselves into a living cell. Cells have what they call the spark of life. It doesn't just magically appear out of nowhere. There's this one chemist who's one of the leading chemists in the world. He actually manufactures molecules out of nowhere. I forget his name. Anyway, he has a good point where he says you can't get a cell membrane without DNA, and you can't manufacture DNA without a cell membrane, that encapsulates a living cell, and that's a powerful point. I mean, it's true. So even most scientists realize that there is no evidence for abiogenesis. That theory is more dead in the water than even evolution or the Big Bang. The Big Bang theory, has some interesting points, but they actually had to come up with this thing that they call cosmic inflation, which there's no evidence for. They just say that, well, the mathematics demonstrate that something very strange had to happen in the beginning, and they call it cosmic inflation. It's been a while since I studied this, so I'd have to go back and read up on it. But there's several, and the concept of dark matter and dark energy. These are things that they were forced to manufacture. They say for the mathematics to make any sense, the universe must be made up of 98% dark matter, but we have no evidence for it. But it must be there somewhere. They have no idea what dark matter could possibly be made of. The mathematics themselves would suggest that dark matter would have to be made of some kind of atom or subatomic particle that is not even known, because the mathematics are just too weird. So anyway, I just wanted to briefly go over something that has struck. Finally, I struck a nerve in my Facebook friends, and there's a few of them that are supportive. You know, there's some Christians they know about how bogus the theory of evolution is, but you know, ultimately Christianity is a whole nother ball game. There's this book called The Power Worshippers by Catherine Stewart that explains how some of these so-called the evangelical leaders, they even had a Bible study, you know, in the White House, and Mike Pence used to go there all the time, and I don't think Trump ever attended, but anyway, they had a Bible study inside the White House. I forget the names of the evangelical pastors, but you know, believe it or not, they're trying to destroy democracy. You know, just like Trump did. You know, they're trying to develop some kind of autocratic system where abortion is illegal. You know, gays don't have any political or social rights. You know, and it's extremely interesting. Matter of fact, Catherine Stewart, you can just Google Catherine Stewart, and she has this podcast. I think it's called Seattle something podcast. I guess some folks in Seattle have a good podcast where they talk about all kinds of things. But Catherine Stewart has this one podcast. It's about, I don't know, it's about 45 minutes long, but she explains everything, how the evangelicals, and this is a worldwide effort, by the way, from the evangelical, and they twist Bible verses to where, you know, they say that government is not responsible to take care of the homeless and those living in poverty, you know. And anyway, if you want to read something fascinating about what's really going on in American politics and even world politics, The Power Worshippers by Catherine Stewart is an excellent read. Also, there's a book called Dark Money. I forget the gal's name that wrote the book, but it's basically about how the Koch brothers, these multi-billionaires, for the last 30 years, they've been developing these think tanks and, you know, sham organizations that are legal, but they're the ones that are putting out all this different disinformation, you know, that was behind Trump and the MAGA heads. You know, they filter all this disinformation through these so-called organizations, they're supposedly legit organizations, and a lot of them are university sponsored also. And that's another great book, Dark Money. And I wish I could remember the name of the gal that wrote it, but you can look it up, and that one's definitely worth reading too. There's actually a commercial now that I've seen on CNN a few times about, I think it's related to HR1, the initiative that's trying to stop all this Republican effort to make it more difficult to vote, especially for non-white supremacists. Yeah, and there's a commercial on it. It's really good. If you haven't seen it yet, you probably will, especially if you watch CNN. Yeah, they're trying to make the so-called dark money illegal, which it should have been all these years. We would have, you know, ever had Trump elected. Anyway, that's just a little video I wanted to make about my little Facebook project here, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you.